Hey everybody, Texas Trucker here, Lance, the Performance Shop, Lone Star, Mopars.com. This Sunday night, and still trying to get past just randomly losing my voice, and one way to possibly lose it is to let out a scream of horror when we take a gander at this little thing. Some of you may recognize this right off the bat. It may look eerily similar to something you might have or have had, and the era on this one, I'd say mid-2000s maybe, like 05, somewhere in that range, I would guess. Possibly as recent as like 2010, 2011. I don't really know for sure, but this is Pittsburgh. It's Harbor Freight. It is their tap and die set. It's kind of scary. Taps and dies are something that you don't want to skimp out on. We are going somewhere with this one, but this is what I have here at the house. All right, at work we have really good taps and dies because, again, breaking a tap is never enjoyable. This here at the house, I'm not gonna lie, it was mainly just kind of used to clean threads for me. A lot of times, especially with aftermarket stuff, you either get something great or you get something terrible, and that's where this came in. I have had a litany of issues with this thing. You can see a lot of these taps, especially the ones that I handled frequently or have had to use, just kind of like flash rust, you know, inexplicably. But I have no idea what I would have paid for this back in the day. I'm sure these are still pretty cheap. I have heard, and I don't know if this is accurate because I have zero experience with it, but there's apparently the tier above this, it may even still be called Pittsburgh, I'm not sure, but supposedly the other one, the one that costs more money, people say is good. I don't know. Again, this kind of got me by. Everything on it is just sort of chinchy. The tap holder sucks, the die holder sucks, the screwdriver sucks, the taps themselves honestly kind of suck. Is sort of like a mixed result with this, you know, like every once in a while it would sort of help you, other times it probably hurt you more than it benefited you. But nonetheless, it has sat all this time in my little Craftsman box. And I did on occasion have to use the thing, right? So that said, it was one of those deals that I always said at some point in time I'm going to upgrade that. And of course, you got to realize I think a lot of people are sort of not clear on this stuff, but this is where this video is going. Though we're just going to go ahead and throw it down. Obviously, this is from Mac. If we zoom in for you, it is a 48-piece thread restoring set. The most important thing is right down here, it's made in the USA. This is actually going to be good quality components, and I can attest for them, particularly the quarter 20, because I had to use it extensively. Picked this up. This was in the flyer. I want to say it was a decent chunk off, somewhere like around 130. Don't hold me to that. Was the sale price. You can get these less than that, yes. Typically, if you're buying it from somewhere reputable that's not fly-by-night, that possibly is swapping components or just misleading the entire listing, you could get a sweetheart deal, maybe around 75 to 80. If you just gotta have it now and you're looking for somewhere reputable, probably 95 to 105, and you can probably find it as high as 120, again depending on the vendor, if they tack on shipping, something along those lines. So again, 130ish right off the truck, and the benefit to me is if I booger one of these things up, I will have it replaced individually and I don't have to deal with it. This is made by Lang. If you want to go that route, Lang, Kastar, you can pull them up, find them, reverse engineer it, find the best deal, whatever works for you. But we'll go ahead and open this thing up. Cool thing, you actually kind of get a little bit of info here, and you can sort of see the kit contents. So for me, again, most of what I care about is going to be with old cars. It's going to be SAE. That said, we do dabble in the late model stuff, so we would need metric. And I kind of think that Pittsburgh set might have been split SAE and metric. Like, I mean, you'd have to have two cases. That might have just been SAE, if I'm thinking back correctly. Might remember to clarify that before the end of the video. But basically, what we've got is, aside from slightly better, you know, packing paper than that, like, archaic brown foam thing, this is color-coded, and it's color-coded for a good reason. It may be beneficial to you. What you're going to have is you're going to have gold, and that is going to be metric. You're going to have black, and that is going to be SAE fine thread. And then over here, your silver, that's going to be your SAE coarse thread. So, my case in point here, there's also, if you can see it, let's try to zoom in. Obviously, fine's coming out for you. If we can slide it a little bit, you'll see like a 6, an 8, a 10. This is going to coincide with our little thread chasers, right? So same thing over here. I'm going to grab this silver one, and this is quarter-20. This one has done a lot for me in a little bit of time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this kit has paid for itself already, but I will tell you it's probably about halfway there, and that's a pretty good start for the short time I've had it. But this is not something, okay, like if you come in and you drill a hole through, we'll just say, I don't know, 250 wall, right, and you want to tap it. Don't do this. Do not use this. This is not a tap. All right. You might be able to pull it off. I don't know. I wouldn't want to sacrifice. This is a good way to test your warranty. See if they replace things for free from wherever you bought it. But this is kind of to clean. This is why this is called a rethreading kit. You're not cutting new threads. You are rethreading, you're cleaning, you're chasing. Realistically, this is probably something people should use far more frequently than they do. Case in point, maybe you've got a blown head gasket in the shop and you take everything off. You realistically would not be hurt to clean and chase every single thread just to be safe. But the reality is, you know, unless you're doing your own work, it's time-based stuff. People don't care. They just want to get it in, get it out, get paid, move on to the next job, generate more revenue. And so a lot of this stuff gets overlooked, right? But if you're sitting here and you're thinking like, yeah, $100, I'm going to get that, and I'm going to, yeah, clean my threads and tap hole. No, this is not a tap, okay? So, case in point where this has seen a lot of action is in throttle bodies, all right? Coming down and just cleaning threads. The quarter-20 obviously coinciding with that. We come here to the smallest size offered, and this is probably the real breadwinner. Not sure if we'll be able to see any signs of activity. I think you probably can. I will be straight up honest with you. I don't know what giant piece of trash I have been sent by a very well-known, very expensive aftermarket company. But what I believe has happened is they've outsourced some studs, some offset studs, and they're getting them from China. It has to be China. This is metric and SAE. You think it'll cover everything? There are certain things coming in that don't seem to be metric or SAE. It's amazing, the lack of quality control and machining. What turned out to be the issue here, amazingly, I got my thread pitch gauges. I'm sitting here trying to figure this out. I can't make sense of it. The company just sort of, they got sick of dealing with me. They sent out one correction part, which was totally not a correction part. And then I was, you know, coercing back with them, and it fell on deaf ears. They're done. They're not going to honor anything. They can move on. I have choice words here. Try to keep it like somewhat family friendly, but I hope I run into some reps from that company at an event someday, because I will let them know exactly what I think of them. But long story short, I could not figure this out. Like, okay, this should be quarter-20. What's the deal? It seems to be like some freak metric thread, but nothing matches. What have they even done here? It's not like fine thread. You know, it's like they're really close to quarter-20, but, you know, metric doesn't match up at all. All I can figure is whatever vat of Chinesium these things were supposed to be plated in, it looks like they fell out coalesced at the bottom, until they finally had to drain the thing, or it just evaporated under the watchful eyes of quality. And they were pulled back out, and then it looks like it happened 2 more times. I have never in my life, using this little thing right here, I have never, ever, and I deal with some nasty stuff. I'm into old cars. At work, I deal with nasty, boogered up threads, right? I have never seen anything like this where a brand new piece of hardware just shedded. And I had to run it 3 times on both sides of the first original offset, and I got it down to 1/4 finally. The problem is it is not near the correct offset, so I'm basically building my own crud now because I've given up on that company. But the one that they sent is the replacement, which is laughably not even close to the same trajectory via the offset. Same thing. It wasn't 3 times, it was only 2, to the credit. But I've never, ever seen anything like it. This is zinc plated, like grade 5, sort of like what you see here. And I've dealt with a lot of hardware in my days. Stainless, grade 5, zinc plated, grade 8, which would be kind of gold colored over here typically. You name it, I've dealt with it. I've had to fix it, straighten it out, make it work, wire brush it back into action, you name it. And I have never, ever seen anything this egregiously hideous. And that's where this paid its... I had no idea it was going to pan out that way. But it did, and I was super, super happy to have this. Even got to use the thread file. That's actually somewhere where you can see what was going on. The thread file, kind of tricky, sort of a lost art. People don't really use it. But if I can zoom in, you're going to see traces of silver. And that will be all the junk. You can kind of see that there. You would not believe what I got out of that thing. You'll note right here, like, hey man, that doesn't even look like it's been used. It hasn't. The one that was used was 1/20. The way these thread files work, sort of restorative type of a thing. If we can get that, it's very difficult to see. Especially this side for some reason. But this is going to say Mac in the middle. Not that that matters, but you can kind of see the A there. There's a 24. Just take my word, there's a 20 here. It is not stamped thick, not stamped deep. There's your 16, 18, 11, and 12, 13, and 14. So you get the idea, right? But this is the side that has been used and used extensively, the 20. And boy howdy, like I said, this was a very nice thing for me to have to try and make their stuff work. The sad news is I cannot make their stuff work because of other issues, so I'm just bending a rod and doing it myself. But that's sort of what this is. This is your SAE thread restoring file. This is your metric. Again, cleaning things up. A good example, again, if you're cutting rod. If I'm coming in and I've given up on that company, I cut my 1/20 rod to 6 inches to make a 2x2x2Z or something. All right. Where you cut it, depending on what you do, you've probably got boogered up threads that you're going to want to run this down. But to get it started, you can use that thread file and sort of bring it back around. So this is one of those things you don't want to use, you don't want to own, you don't really want to have, but every once in a while you're going to need it. This being in a freak situation of brand new parts, brand new hardware, and just getting it going. So again, sort of spendy right here off the truck. Really wasn't a bad deal. If you were just running in and buying this online, like I said, you could easily spend 100 to 120 with freight. So when you view it in that light, it's not terrible. Could I have gotten this for sub $100 online if I'm patient? Yes, zero issues there. Again, the big thing for me was, let's say that I just chew this thing up, right? How is it going back through Lang if I bought it from Summit Racing and I tell them, like, hey, I've got this 1/20 die that's totally screwed, what do we do? What's going to happen? I don't know. And now with this, I just hand it to the Mac guy and he deals with it. So it's kind of the benefit there. But again, fairly comprehensive. But I think what a lot of people have the misconception is like, yeah, I got my tap and dice it. No, you do not. do not. Whatever you do not tap holes with this. Maybe it would work in a pinch. I wouldn't want to do it. This is literally intended just to clean things up. And like I said, though, maybe you've got like a really, really oddball bolt. Maybe you're doing something and it's, I don't know, some like hardcore Pro Street build from the late 80s, and the guy's got these crazy, you know, like stainless 12-point ARP bolts or something. You're pulling them out, just doing a valve cover job because everything was dry rotted and spewing oil, and all you're gonna do is, you know, swap a gasket. If those threads are gummed up somehow, it could be the back hole. It's never going to be one that's easily accessible, so we're going to go back over here by the master cylinder. You're going to come in, you're going to chase your threads, you're going to put the bolt through it, you're going to clean it up. You will be amazed at the difference. So that's where these shine. Again, not quite as exotic or as expensive as a tap set, but just for chasing and cleaning threads, this is a really nice setup. So what they're going to tell you: properly repair or renew damaged threads with the capability of the rethreading set. Fractional or metric, this set is equipped with an entire 48-piece tooling selection to simplify all rethreading jobs. I will tell you, be careful when you buy this online. If you're like, oh, that sucker, I found this for $70. Is it 48-piece? There are several iterations of this, and they will crop out. You know, select few sizes, or maybe the thread files or something. Might not be a big deal, might come back to haunt you. 48-piece, that's what this one is. Rethreading taps, again, rethreading, not cutting new threads, but rethreading, are highly tempered for strength and durability. This is where there's a radical difference between this and what I just showed you from Pittsburgh. All right, and that is, those were actual taps in that case. So again, quality, country of origin, you keep all that in mind, especially with stuff like this. There's lots of times you can cheap out. Okay, if you don't want to buy a Stavilla or a Mac ratchet, fine. You know, your Icon's probably going to be good. If you are getting yourself particularly a set of taps, I would advocate to get the best that you can possibly afford. You will never regret that. You will frequently regret getting the cheapest tap you could find. Again, this comes from experience and learning from other people's mistakes, and I've got a lot of parts that have been shelved because they've got broken taps. And this is done a radial drill with a Tapmatic, you know, so I mean, it happens. This isn't like offhand, you know, eyeballing it, running it with a drill. This is set up, professional machine shop, and taps will just break. It's just something that happens. All right, spiral point, spiral flute, bottoming, you name it. Like I said, I'm set up at work. I am not set up here. Still not set up at the house, but again, I don't have a mill, I don't have a lathe, I don't have a radial drill press. I've got a very small Craftsman drill press. But this is kind of a home gamer's saving grace. This is the difference between you having a head pulled off Sunday afternoon and chasing the threads and having it reinstalled before you go to bed, versus loading that aluminum cylinder head up in the back seat of your truck to drop off at a machine shop the next day. So that's kind of where this comes in. Let's see here. Hex shape for use with a socket or wrench. Again, that is very nice. I did that on the throttle body with this, so comes in handy. Rethreading dies remove nicks and burrs and are for chasing work only. That's these little hex-shaped guys, right? They are rethread only. Cannot stress that enough. They are not intended for cutting new threads. Again, you might be like, hey, my buddy paid like $800 off the truck for his tap, and I got this for $120. No. Do not do it. Just don't go there. Save yourself a heartache and hassle. For quick visual identification, rethreading tools are color-coded. Again, gold, metric, black, it's going to be your SAE fine, and then silver, your SAE coarse. Kind of depends what you're working with. It's kind of my bread and butter over here. You might be gold only, you know. Let's see here. Yep, that's just highlights what I said there. For longer tool life and easier cutting, frequently apply cutting oil to the tool's cutting edges. So National course, we got quarter 20, 5/16, 18, 3/8, 16, 7/16, 14, half 13, and 9/16-12. And then 4, those are going to be, again, your taps right there. For the fine thread, some of you may know it, some of you may not, so I'll run it by you in the event that you're like, hey, does that have what I need? Quarter 28, 5/16, 24, 3/8, 24, 7/16, and a half inch 20, and 9/16 fine is 18 threads per inch. In metric land, screw it. You get 6, 8, 10, 10, 10, like 3 of them, 11, and 12, 12, 12, 14. So whatever they do, I don't care. I don't deal with it unless I have to. So we're going to call that good. Your thread pitch files, though, SAE, you got 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 18, 20, 24. Again, keep in mind, size 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then size 5, 6, 7, and 8. So it's 8 sizes per thread file. In metric, you are going to have 0.75, 1.0, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, 2.0, 2.5, and 3.0. Dies are, of course, basically going to be the same thing. However, and I don't quite understand this, but in SAE land, and this is a big deal for me, the rethreading die, this big one, it's 5/8 11, which is pretty cool. And then if you're thinking like, well, hey, what do they have, a fine thread? They do, 5/8 18. So I can't tell you why that's on there either, because I don't think that actually, yeah, it does, 5/8 18. Interesting. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So yeah, I don't know why we don't get the 5/8 11 chaser here, or 5/8 fine thread here, 18. It makes no sense to me. At the same time, I'm happy that's there, but I would kind of like to have had the 5/8 11 chase. But hey, at work that would be a very, very big deal. Here, not as much. This right here just kind of protects the other sides if you're interested in doing that. But yeah, you can get these, you can get things very similar to these. Pay attention to the country of origin, also to the price. If you're getting something out of China, maybe it's great, maybe it's junk. But the problem is, if it's junk and it's just a little bit cheaper than this, let's say that you got this off of Summit for 90 bucks, right? If your Chinese set that you're laughing all the way to the bank to is 70, you better hope it's good quality, because if it's not, you've shot yourself in the foot. So again, this is one of those things, spending a little more. I don't necessarily mean buying it off the truck. You don't have to do that. But I do imply that you generally get what you pay for with stuff like this. So keep that in mind. But what I will do now is, I guess, run you over and kind of show you some real-world examples of what this and this have done for me. Alright, I can't show you everything because some of it is in vehicle, but right here, let me set that down on the blue. If you look towards the end of this, I have not chased that. I think I did the same thing over here. It was just egregiously bad. I didn't know, and I'd want to show this to people. This is the piece that I got, like, it took 2 rounds of just, serious chips coming out of the threads. This is brand new. This was sent out by that company, and it is not remotely close to anything that it should be. This was also laughably bad. It's had to be taken care of. This was totally fine. This is from Summit. This is not the correct offset, unfortunately, but everything should be like, this is all quarter 20, right? So everything should just spin this easy, just index finger flicking it, right? If I didn't have this camera, we could send this thing down the shaft in no time at all. With some of this stuff, that just does not happen, and that's again where the rethreading kit comes in right here. Maybe you come in and you source, I don't know, you find like a wrecked Dakota, we'll just say, and it's got some really sweet aftermarket throttle body, and you're like, oh geez, this is freaking awesome. Maybe, the holes are egged out, maybe they're stripped. That's something that could come in and potentially restore it for you without having to like drill it out and helicoil it, take it to a machine shop. Saves you time, saves you money type of a deal, right? So that's sort of where it comes in. Again, maybe it's just a sensor bolt is messed up. You could potentially restore those threads. All sorts of great goodness out of that. This is just a little sample I've bent up, but again, I can come in anywhere that I have to cut. Right, we can sort of then tweak this, restore it with running the die over it. The only weird thing, this junky little SAE thread pitch set, that actually came in the Harbor Freight set. I still use it to this day. That's by far the most used thing out of there. It would have been cool if that Lang set came with thread pitch gauge. It's a minor thing, but you got to realize most people don't have that, and that would have been something really nice, because then if you just got this random rod or a bolt and like, man, what is this? Maybe you've got a nut and bolt gauge. I've got one sitting over here, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Right here, okay? You basically just run that in, and in whatever hole it fits best, you know, like in this case, the quarter, you're like, oh, okay, and then you can run and get your length. But that's not going to tell you coarse or fine. Some of you are like, how could you not know the difference? There's people that don't know the difference. 20 versus 28, right? So that little gauge will tell you, like, okay, hey, yeah, this is definitely quarter-20 that I've got. Would be cool to see that. It's kind of interesting that they don't include that, but again, I guess it's sell more tools, or they don't make it type of a thing. But yeah. So like I mentioned, that little set has come in handy already, and again, it's something that you hope you never even have to crack open. It's just there should you need it, but when you need it, it is really, really nice. And ultimately, whenever I kind of make the right size piece, again, I'm going to have an end that was cut and an end that was previously cut off that threaded rod, so it will come in handy there, running those dies down, getting it squared up. But that's what we got. Again, if you have that set, you very well may have bought it off the truck and paid a lot more than you could get it from, you know, like a street vendor type of a deal. Some of you have probably had the old school Lang set for a long time. What do you think of it? How has it treated you? Have you ever threaded a hole with it? You know, like in a pinch type of a deal. Any huge saves, whatever you want to talk about, feel free. Also, feel free to share your horror stories with stuff that went terribly awry. But yeah, that's what I brought in. Again, it's not the flashiest, not the coolest thing, sort of a misunderstood item, but again, for little things like this, just running that little chaser down there, getting the threads cleaned out, running a die over here, making this stuff be compatible, super good. And keep in mind, this is new stuff, right? You're gonna see the same benefit with older gummed up stuff. You might be able to put headers on. You're finally tired of exhaust manifolds cracking or something. You come in, you pull those studs out, you're running your bolts in. These two holes in the middle might be great, and then you get one with a water passage, and you're like, man, this bolt just does not want to turn. Well, chase the threads, right? Pull it back out, chase them, pull it back out, run that bolt in. Still a little gummy, you know, run the bolt through a die, turn it in, you're like, man, that's really smooth now. That's where that set shines. That's what it's intended for. Again, not a set of taps. Just chasing threads, cleaning threads, whatever you need to call it to make it make sense. That's what that is. That's where it excels. And again, like I said, it hadn't paid for itself just yet in the very short time I've had it, but it's getting pretty close. So with that said, I will quit rambling. Let me know your thoughts. Again, you know the drill here. Lone Star Mopars. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you have not subscribed, I encourage you to do so. New videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. If you ring the bell, jump your Charger across the creek, and successfully use your Lang rethreading kit to fix threads, YouTube just might notify you. We got those new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, thanks so much for watching, and I hope I catch you back here for more on the shop.